Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
The NBA All-Star break is sneaking up on us. Around that time, I'm normally pissed because I just want real basketball. I want legit games. I don't want to see big men and these players running down the court trying to dribble and pass through a net. I want to see them actually compete in a real game. But I understand there needs to be a break. There needs to be an All-Star game. I get it. But the one thing that will keep me more invested is just knowing that the Sixers will have some representatives. Joel Embiid is in the starting lineup, which is a huge thing for him, and that's a huge accomplishment when it comes to the NBA, being named a starter in the All-Star game, so kudos to him. And Ben Simmons was just recently named a reserve. And I know I put it out there, listen, I don't even want him to make it because I think it will piss him off and fuel him to take the next step in his career. And I still stand by that. I do believe that is the truth because when it comes down to Ben Simmons, that's how he works. Whenever he gets criticized, whenever he has his back against the wall, if you will, he ends up taking off and dominating. So I still stand by that statement 100%. I'm not mad that he made the All-Star game. If he's willing to play the way that he has been playing recently, well, then by all means, then who the hell cares? That's what we want out of him, and he wasn't giving that to us all season long. But recently, he has been absolutely phenomenal, taking games over. In his last 9 games without Joel Embiid, this is without him, so not the last 2 games, he averaged 21.6 points per game, 9.3 rebounds, and practically 8 assists. He was taking games over and putting the team on his back. The Sixers were 6-3 throughout that stretch. So he went to an extreme, and it's the extreme that we need. Now, those 2 games where Joel Embiid was involved, one game he was and the last game where they played the Atlanta Hawks and they fell, he was in control, though, in terms of being aggressive, scoring 30-plus points, providing what he needs to provide for this team to be successful. No one else held their end of the bargain besides Shake Milton, and that's a totally different discussion. But my point is, I'm not disappointed that Ben Simmons made the All-Star game. If he plays this way, then fine. That's fine by me. The reason why I said, well, who cares if he makes it or not? I prefer if he didn't because it will eat him alive is because he's that type of athlete where when things start to piss him off, when things start to get on his nerves, when he feels disrespected, he takes his game to the next level. And I personally believe he knew that he wasn't going to be in the All-Star game unless he took his game to the next level. So during that 9-game stretch, in the back of his mind, whether you want to believe it or not, I believe this, he knew he needed to take the next step to even get voted into the All-Star game. So he decided, all right, let me do this thing so I can get in there because it means that much to him. It does. These little things, they mean that much to him. I'm not saying that's wrong. Sure, a lot of players take pride in getting voted into the All-Star game, whether it's a starter or a reserve, because it means you are at the top of the league. You are a really solid player in this league. You are a difference maker to your team. So I get why they take pride in it. That's also why I understand if he didn't make it, why Ben Simmons would be sitting on his couch with his blood boiling. So we'll talk more about this and the All-Star game as a whole, the players involved, other reserves, people who got snubbed, and hell, even Matisse Thybulle, who got robbed of the Rising Stars game. Before we do, we need to hear a word from my sponsor, SeatGeek. Are you looking to go to any game out there, whether it's a basketball game in the NBA, NHL, college sports, a concert? If you use the SeatGeek promo code BROADS at their checkout page, you will receive $20 off of your total purchase. That's free parking. That's free beer, free food. It's a no-brainer. Use the promo code BROADS today. So I'm proud. I am proud of Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, even though they irritate us as we dissect them through 82 games. Listen, when you think back about the process and what the plan was to get these high draft picks, to pick these players so you can change your franchise and not be stuck as an 8th seed every single season, the point was to get stars. And now you have these players that are consistently making the All-Star game, and one's a starter. That's a big deal. It's a big deal to think about what the blueprint was when we were losing on purpose, when we had awful players out on the floor consistently. The point was to get stars, and you are starting to see that occur. These are multiple years in a row where these players are making this game. That is saying something. That says you have athletes that are at the top of the NBA. Now, there are tiers when it comes to the top of the NBA. The Kawhis, the Kevin Durants, the LeBrons, compared to, say, the Russell Westbrooks of the world and things of that nature. No doubt about it. There are tiers, but still, you're in the ballpark right now, and they're at young ages in their career, so let's see where this bad boy takes us. Before we talk about that change to the format, and before we look at the rosters for these East and West teams, well, I guess it's not really East and West teams anymore because they do the picking and the drafting with the two captains, which I like that aspect without a doubt. But before we get to that stuff, let's talk about Matisse Thybulle, because Matisse Thybulle did not get into the Rising Stars game. I understand why, but at the same time, I don't understand why. This game is all about, don't get me wrong, it's all about the best rookies and the best young guns when it comes to the NBA right now, and Matisse Thybulle is no doubt one of them. But with his unique skill set of being an elite defender, is that really what is on notice and on display when it comes to this game? No one plays defense. It's a fast-paced game. It's about the young stars who cross people over and shoot deep from three and score a bunch of points. No one in the All-Star games really take pride in defense or play defense, or when they get voted into things, it's not just about players' defense. That doesn't get recognized enough when it comes to something like the All-Star game. That's my understanding part of it. That's where my brain says, okay, Matisse Thybulle, you can look at his 64 steals, which is 17 more than any rookie, his 34 blocks, he leads rookies in deflections. All that stuff is fantastic, and that will help teams win without a doubt, but it's not as splashy as dropping 20 points per game. It's not as splashy as what some of these other rookies and young stars are doing in this league, because it's not an offensive number. People really only look at offensive numbers when it comes to this stuff. The Sixers are 18-3 when he plays over 20-plus minutes. But here's the problem. He averages less than 5 points per game. Now, he's shooting at a 36.6% from three clip, but I think that is a little flawed based off of a stretch that he had at one point that made his numbers really high. I don't know. I guess he's around league average when it comes to shooting threes, but it's inconsistent. There are times where he hits 5, and there are times where he's bricking a lot. So I guess that's why from a eye test, it doesn't feel that way. I get it. I do get it. But he is so impactful, and he is so meaningful to the Sixers, and he is one of the best defenders as a rookie the NBA has ever seen. So that's where it bothers me in terms of him not being in there, because when you take a look throughout the years, Matisse Thybulle is doing something that rookies flat out just don't do. They do not have this type of impact defensively this quickly in the NBA. Now, he's an older rookie because he spent some time playing college basketball and went through a lot of years there, but still, I mean, you just don't have that type of player come in and change your team to this degree, where LeBron James is on him and he says, nope, I don't give a damn, I'm going to steal the basketball. But once again, does that relate to an All-Star game? Does that relate to flashy? Now, there are times where Matisse Thybulle is dribbling the ball and having a huge monster slam dunk, and when you look at some of these names in the Rising Stars game, it's not as if it's filled with LeBron James's, Kevin Durant, and things like that. If he didn't make the actual All-Star game, I get it. But there are some names on the list where it's like, really? I mean, Matisse Thybulle can't make it over this guy? And then you have someone like Trae Young in the game. Well, he's a starter in the All-Star game. Should it be where he's in the Rising Stars game and in the All-Star game as well as a starter too? Now, I'm not saying because of their age, screw that. They're not allowed in the Rising Stars game because they are a Rising Star. But if you're already good enough to be a legit starter in the All-Star game, what's the point? And then a few of those players can get weaved out, and that can open up the opportunity for some of these younger stars to actually be in it, like Matisse Thybulle. I don't know. That's just my opinion. But I'm not going to cry about it to an insane degree. Like I stated, I do see both sides of the argument. So let's get back to the actual All-Star game, and we'll look at the East. Here's the starters. Giannis, Joel Embiid, Pascal Siakam, which his story is remarkable. He continues to get better. It's crazy. He made that obnoxious leap because he was once an player, and then he takes an obnoxious leap to the point where he's the most improved player, and he's a key piece to the Toronto Raptors and their run, and then he gets better again, and then he takes another step forward. He takes a huge leap in the right direction. It's remarkable, and I give kudos to him for what he's doing. I love the fact that him and Joel Embiid have that relationship based off of where they're from. It is definitely unique to be where they are from and to be this successful and to be at the top of the NBA, and in all due respect to where they are at in their careers. That's awesome, and I love the respect that those two have together. It's really awesome to see, and for them to both be starting, that's really cool. Kemba Walker and Trae Young. Now, this is where I do think that the voting system is a little flawed with fans voting, and they're trying their best to make this work the right way, because at one point it was the coaches, and then they added the element of fans voting on Twitter, and they're trying to find the right happy medium to the point where it's a good mix of both. Is the East that weak where Kemba Walker is your starting guard? I mean, look at the West for the starters. Anthony Davis, Luka Doncic, LeBron James, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard. The East is going to get smacked. Smacked. On paper. Of course, this is a game where no one really tries. They just try to do alley-oops and things like that. So it definitely doesn't mean much. It's not as if these players are going to be dialed in. They would get smacked if it was a real game atmosphere. Both teams are dialed in as if it's NBA Finals Game 7, right? So when I say they're going to get smacked, my mind automatically goes to, on paper, if they were all mentally prepared with earphones in before the game and really prepared as if it's an NBA Finals type game, then yes, the East would get smacked. But to me, that's a big-time difference in terms of the starting lineup, without a doubt. Now, here's the new rule change. I brought it up on my computer here, the NBA All-Star Game format. I think this is atrocious. They tried to do way too much. Now, by the end of it, the point is to give Kobe Bryant a ton of respect and to have him honored throughout this, and I get that. But I think that there's an easier way to do it. Everyone wears a Kobe Bryant jersey. Everyone's rocking 24/8. The tribute videos. Make it all about Kobe. Without a doubt, everything involved in this weekend, make it all about Kobe. I don't know what they were doing with this format. This is very poor out of the NBA. So both NBA All-Star Game teams will play for the Chicago-based community organizations as selected by team captains Giannis and LeBron. So they will be playing for a community. The team will compete to win each of the first 3 quarters, all of which will start with a 0-0 score and be 12 minutes long. So after each quarter, the score goes back to 0. So you're trying to win each quarter. This is where things get a little weird. At the start of the 4th, the game clock will be turned off and a final target score will be set. The final target score will be determined by taking the leading team's total cumulative score through 3 quarters and add 24 points, representing the late Kobe Bryant's uniform number. Once the final target score is set, the teams will play an untimed 4th quarter, and the first team to reach the final target score will win the NBA All-Star Game. For example, if the cumulative score of the first 3 quarters is 100-95, the final target score will be set at 124 points. To win the All-Star Game, the team with 100 points would need to score 24 in the 4th quarter before the team with 95 points score 29, and vice versa. Huh? I mean, it's just confusing to even do that. I'm reading it and seeing it with my eyeballs, and I'm still thinking, what the hell are you trying to do? Why are you doing this? Just let them play the game. Just let them play the game. It's just that simple. There's no reason to make it so ridiculous and add points here and restart this and do that. Like, play the game. Throw up the ball. Let them run alley-oops all the time. Don't play a lot of defense until the 4th quarter. And just let them play the game. The point of the NBA All-Star Game is more about seeing these guys' athleticism, to see what guy's going to pull up from 3 from 700 feet. Just let them go out there and work their magic. You just are supposed to be amazed with their athleticism and things like that. Now, the way they keep the score doesn't change that, and I totally agree, but they're definitely trying to make this way too complicated. It doesn't need to be like that. That's my opinion. I think they tried way too hard to do all this. And they also, during this release that they put out, talk about how the winner of each of the first 3 quarters will receive $100,000, a total of $300,000 to donate to their charities. And then there will be, the winning team of the All-Star game will earn $200,000 for their community organization that they are playing for. So, yeah, that's what it looks like in terms of what they get to give to the organizations and all, which is definitely an awesome touch. I think that adds value to how hard they play later in the game, for sure, and that's what you want. You want it to be tight down the stretch, and you want them to play hard because they're playing for money to give to communities, and that's awesome. But I don't think they had to go to this level of how they're doing it. So the reserves, not just Ben Simmons. Jimmy Butler is a reserve, and if you've seen his numbers from 3 throughout this recent stretch, wow, is it bad. It's almost really bad. It's not almost really bad. It's definitely really bad, but it's so weird to see because I know Jimmy Butler's a mid-range guy, and I've seen his mid-range jumper work in Philadelphia, and I've seen it throughout his entire career, but it's terrible. It's, dude, don't even shoot a 3 type bad. And I'm still a Jimmy Butler guy. As you hear now, you hear maybe it was more of a mutual disagreement, if you will, when he left here. And I have no hard feelings over Jimmy Butler. Of course, when he comes to town, it's all about booing him because that's the nature of Philadelphia, and we want the environment to be harsh for these people coming in. That's the beauty of the Wells Fargo Center, and realistically why the Sixers are 22-2 at home right now. But I still respect him. I still love him. I love his attitude, and I love what he brings to the game of basketball. So he is a reserve for the, I guess I keep saying East, but when they draft players, it's a little bit different. Jimmy Butler, Ben Simmons, Kyle Lowry. Still hate the guy. Can't stand looking at his face. And did you see this argument he had with a fan? He jumps into the stands. He lands on a fan, and the fan gives him like a push back towards the court. And he's crying, saying this guy pushed him. Dude, it wasn't like he literally shoved you to the ground. You landed on the guy. And I would say this about anyone, not just him. Russell Westbrook is another guy that ends up fighting with fans all the time. And I know that there were some harsh words thrown around there in Utah at one point, and that's totally different. Absolutely, when things like that get thrown around, those type of words, it's different. But with what happened with Kyle Lowry, a light push as he's jumping on the fans, trying to get a ball and whatnot, he didn't do anything malicious. Like, calm down. Those type of moments, which also happens to Russell Westbrook, may I add. Relax. I'm all for giving these athletes, how do I explain this? I respect the athletes, and I understand where they're coming from because they are human beings too at times. I know as fans you feel entitled because you buy the expensive tickets, you buy the parking, the food there. You feel like, listen, I'm entitled to say things to these athletes, and to an extent, yes. But there are times where it's relax, and this is one of those relax moments for Kyle Lowry. Chris Middleton, Sabonis, Jason Tatum, Adebayo. How about Adebayo getting in the mix? Good for him. And the West, you have the Joker, Damian Lillard, who's been on an unbelievable tear. This dude has been balling on another level. 60-plus points, hitting a triple-double. He's so much fun to watch. It's a shame that the Portland Trail Blazers are not what they have been over the last few seasons. Not that they have been sick and unreal, but they've made noise and been in the playoffs. They are really down there in terms of the standings, so it sucks to not be able to see Dame Lillard in big-time moments again because we know how exciting that is with that unbelievable meme of his face right by the camera. But he is a reserve. Donovan Mitchell, I'm not a big fan. Rudy Gobert, CP3, Brandon Ingram, and Westbrook. Did I mention the snubs? Bradley Beal. 28.7 points per game, 6.4 assists per game. Oh, you're not in the All-Star game. That's a sick joke. And listen, Devin Booker, I've been on the record saying that he's growing into his own. But earlier, he would score a bunch of points, but it didn't really result into anything, and teams went into Phoenix and dominated them. It would be a 30-point game, but Devin Booker would drop 40-plus points, and everyone's like, wow, look at Devin Booker. Well, they lost by 30, and teams aren't even playing against him. But I'm not saying he's a bad player. He got snubbed as well. 27 points per game, 6.4 assists per game. Really? There are players who get their nods because of just their name, when there are players out there who have great numbers and they produce statistically just like anyone else, but they won't get the recognition based off of bigger names being involved. And that's where I think the popularity contest of the fans play a factor and whatnot, and I don't think it's truly the best way to do things. Moral of the story, though, I'm happy for Embiid. I'm happy for Ben Simmons. I'm excited to watch them play and represent the Philadelphia 76ers. And I'm a little annoyed that Matisse Thybulle didn't get any recognition. He was not voted in by the assistant coaches. But I also understand because his skill set isn't an all-star game type skill set. You know what I mean? So that's how I see it. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that thumbs up button and subscribe, and I will see you next time.